Hey guys, in this series of tutorial, I would like to draw your attention to data structure and algorithm, and specifically I'm going to focus on LeetCode questions. You probably have seen a very famous series of questions called LeetCode Blind 75. So I'm trying to solve the majority of these questions over this series of tutorial, so stay tuned and let's start. In this video, we're going to focus on the first question of the string part, longest substring without repeating characters. So given a string S, we need to find the length of the longest substring without duplicate characters. I would like to draw your attention to the first example here. It's ABC, ABC, BB. So the first approach for us is to use brute force, trying to find all the substring within this long string, and then making sure that every substring has got no duplicate character, and then returning the length of every single substring, and the maximum length would be the answer. So this is not the perfect approach. That's why we need to go with a better one. A more efficient approach would be to use window sliding. So we're going to create a window and move all the way from the first character to the last one, and over this iteration we're trying to find the length of the largest substring without the repetitive character. So let's start with the first one. If you start from the first character, you can see that we have A. We can go all the way to the next character, and then we will have AB. Still nothing repetitive. We can continue to the third character, ABC. Still, it's the largest substring without any repetitive character. However, as soon as we hit the fourth character here, we find the first repetitive character. There is letter A in the previous substring. So ABCA would not make a proper substring without any duplicate character. That's why we need to cut our window from the beginning of that repetition. So what I mean by the beginning of the repetition is the location of the repetitive character. So the repetitive character was A, right? So the location of that repetition, the first repetition, is on the first character. So instead of having A, B, C, A, I'm going to cut the first repetition and create B, C, A. So the new window would be BCA, BCA, as opposed to the previous window, which was ABC. So we're going to continue this window sliding movement. So far, we've created BCA, so let's move to the next character. BCA, and the next character is B. This is not good because B has been repeated previously, right? And this is exactly where it happened. So we need to remove that part and turn this BCA into the new window, which is CAB. We're going to move forward with the next character. So the next one is C, right? If I add CABC, if I add this character, once again, we have a repetitive character. This is not good. We need to find the location of this repetition, and the location is here. So we're going to remove this. So we'll end up having ABC. We're going to do the same things. We're going to move along with this window. The next character is B. So I'm going to add B here. As you can see, letter B is repeated here, but it's not in the beginning, it's on the second position. So we need to find this and remove whatever is left from the previous part. So A would be removed as well. In case you're wondering why I am removing A, because it doesn't make sense to only remove B, right? Because if I only remove B, then A, C, B is not a substring, right? So we need to remove everything prior to that repetition location. So we will eventually end up with CB. So you can see the length of this window is 2. However, the previous windows had the length of 3. Anyway, we need to move forward. So, yep, let's finish this window sliding by focusing on the last letter. The last letter is B. You can see B is repeated. We need to find the location of that repetition, and the location is here. So everything prior to that location must be deleted as well. I'm going to delete this, and I will end up with B, right? So the length of this window is 1. It's even smaller. So during this whole process, we went through lots of different windows with various length. And the maximum length was 3, which happened multiple times. So the answer would be 3. I'm going to solve this question in both JavaScript and Python. I'm going to start first with the JavaScript answer. Let's define the window. It's going to be an empty string. And let's also define the result. The result is going to be the longest substring without the repeating characters. In the beginning, both of these values are empty strings. We need to iterate over this string, so let's define a for loop here. Okay, so there are two conditions here. The first condition is whether the character exists already in the window, and the second one if it doesn't exist there. So I'm gonna start with the condition on which the character does not belong to the window. For example, we will start with an empty string, go through the first iteration, the first letter. A does not exist there, so we need to add it there. So if this character does not exist in the window, or in other words, if the window doesn't include that character, we need to add it to the window. Otherwise, what if it already exists there? What if it's a repetitive character? And I'm going to explain what's going to happen there. So let's first cover the first part of this conditional. If this character, for example, if A does not exist in the window, so all we need to do is to update the window. Then we will update the window. So now our window will include letter A, or the first character, and the result is still an empty string. I'm going to go ahead and define another conditional here. If the length of the result is smaller than the length of the window, or if it is equal to the length of the window, then the result needs to be updated. For example, in this scenario, we have updated the window. Letter A, the first character, has been added to window, but the result is an empty one, right? So the length of this empty string, which is 0, is less than the length of the window. That's why we need to update the result. And this needs to turn into A, right? Just like the window. Okay, so if the length of result is less than or equal to the length of the window, then update the result. So result will turn into the window. We're gonna just carry forward whatever the window is and put it there into the result. For example, on the second iteration, once A is already there and we are covering B, right, the window will turn into AB. However, the result is still A, right? So the letter B does not exist in the window, so we add it there. It turns into AB. Now that it exists, we can see that the length of this result, the length of this A is 1, and it is less than AB, which is 2, right? So that's why we need to update the result, and it will turn into AB because we are carrying the value of window and attributing it to the result. This is what this if statement does. So what if it's a repetitive character, just like A, B, C, A, right? The first 4 characters, you can see A is repetitive. So in this case, first of all, we need to find the index of that first occurrence. So I'm going to call this first occurrence. And we need to find the index of that duplicate value, right? Like in this case, the first repetition is A, right? This A. And we need to find where it occurred originally, and it occurred on the first position. So we need to find it. So in case of window ABC, A has happened on the first, so the first occurrence would be 0, right? Now that we have found the first occurrence, we need to delete whatever appears prior to that, including that repetition, right? So ABC is supposed to turn into BC, right? A is going to be removed and BC is supposed to be remaining there. So in order to do that, we need to update the window, right? So the window will become smaller. So we're going to just pick a slice of it, or we're just going to delete whatever comes before that repetition. We're going to have BC, so we need to cut whatever is remaining prior to this, right? The first occurrence. So I'm going to put the first occurrence here. So the first occurrence happens on position 0. We don't need it. We need to have whatever is after that, right? So I'm going to add 1, indicating that, well, A is not supposed to be included. So we all we need to have is whatever is remaining after that first occurrence. In other words, BC. Okay, now that we have something like BC here, we need to add the repetitive character, right? We originally had ABCA. We removed the first repetition, so we ended up with BC, and now we need to add that repetition, right? That repetitive character, which now is not a repetitive character. So BC will turn into BCA. Okay, so if you do so, we're just going through every single character here, and then the result will be updated. all we need to do is to return the length of that result. Okay, I'm going to run this. Okay, works on those 3 cases. Let's submit it. Okay, it's got a very good runtime with beating 92% of the other answers. The Python solution follows the same algorithm. As you can see here, I have defined the solution for the Python 3. Just like the previous answer, we have a temporary value or the window value and the result. Both of them are empty strings. We are iterating over every single character here, like starting from A all the way to B and B. And we are defining a conditional statement. If that letter exists already in the temporary value or the window, then we need to find the index of the first occurrence. And then we need to cut whatever is prior to that repetitive value and then add the remaining one. Like when we reach ABCA, we need to find the repetitive value. The position of the first repetition is 0, so we will end up having BC, and then finally we are adding that character, so this will turn into BCA, just like the similar algorithm that was explained on the JavaScript solution. And if that's not a repetitive value, we are just expanding the length of that temporary window. It's become larger, A, B, and C, right? And we need to update the value of the result. If the length of that result is equal or less than the length of that window or that temporary value, then we need to assign that large temporary value to the result. And this would eventually create our ideal result. And all we need to do is to return the length of that result. And that's about it. Hope you like this video. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel and like this one. It definitely helps the channel a ton. I'm committed to creating more and more front-end, back-ends, full stack, and of course, algorithm and data structure sort of question, just like this series of LeetCode 75. Feel free to subscribe and see you on the other one.